Then you have a ring bender, which is this tool right here. This tool, it bends your rings around so that you don't have to do it with the pliers. Makes the job a lot easier. Not something you need, just something that, like I said, makes the job easier, quicker. Where's the other one here? A micro block. This tool is extremely helpful. This is the Jura micro block. The other micro blocks are going to come with jaws that look like this. And you can get accessories for the set that comes like this. Jura is the one you're going to want to get if you're going to focus on rings, do mainly rings. It comes with two other attachments, 3 in total. It's about $700. So the thing about this is that it spins this way and you can lock it up. There's a nut, a screw right here you can tighten so that it doesn't spin anymore. And you can also have this so that it spins. And this is tightened up by the jaws right here. It comes with 2 kinds of bases. I have the plastic base. It kind of moves on this base a little bit. So the rubber base, I'm thinking that it doesn't do that. So I'm probably going to get a rubber base rather soon. I'll show you the attachments for it too. So this attachment is for engraving or sharpening your burrs. It has a slot in the middle that holds a burr. It just pinches your work down. And then it has this one which holds your ring like the attachment that's on it, but in the opposite plane. So you can work on it from a different angle. Then we have a caliper. I highly recommend getting a dial caliper. I'm not a fan of batteries. This is a good one. I got it from Auto Fray. I'll link it like everything else. It's alright. You can re-zero it if you need to. That's what this knob down here is for. And this one locks the caliper. I really prefer things without batteries if possible. Scribe. I have no idea what I did with mine. Yes, I do. Right here. So I make my scribes from just old worn out bits. Just for, scribing your metal. The metal they use for burrs and drill bits is a really high quality, high speed steel. So it stays sharp. You just stick it in your rotary tool. You might want to anneal it first. And then you either use a file or sandpaper to get to the point you want. Let's see here. A professional ring mandrel. There are so many mandrels you can get. This one is for forging, for fabricating. Meaning I can whack on this with a hammer all day long and I'm not going to dent or mar this up. It does have the ring sizes on it, but they kind of fade away. So what I do is when I'm making to a set size, I'll just take a Sharpie and I'll draw on the line that I need to get to. Really good mandrel. I think it's about $50. It's heavy. It's hardened steel. So burnishers. You can make your own. This is a homemade burnisher. Just a steel rod with a polished tip on it. So these, you can actually polish your silver with a burnisher if you really want to. So here's a piece of silver, I'll show you. Any tool you put on silver or gold, the finish of that tool is what finish you're going to be left with on the silver or gold. So I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see that, but I polished up the corner here. You can kind of see it reflecting. Then there are other kind of burnishers that are used for stone setting, and those pretty cheap, like $20 for a pack. You can buy a handle for them, but I just use the handle for my graver. They look like this. And these are used for making the grains. If it wants to focus. These are used for burnishing over the grains on your your rings with stone settings. Lubrication. So lube is very important when it comes to saw blades. I prefer the wax. It's Burlife. You can get it whatever brand you want. Then they have oil. Oil works much better, but it is very messy compared to the wax. The wax works good, and it's a really easy cleanup. This is what it looks like new, the wax. This is good for your files, it's good for your saw blades, and it's good for your drill bits and burrs. Binding wire. So you use binding wire for soldering applications because when you heat metal, it wants to expand. And also if you have two pieces of metal you're joining, two pieces of silver, gold, whatever, and you don't want them to move, you can bind them up with wire. I recommend, this is what I use, is Kanthal. Kanthal A1 annealed resistance wire. This company sells it extremely cheap. I think the company is called Temco. And then the last thing on my list, actually I got one more thing I should add, are tweezers. You can't have enough tweezers. The cheap brands are like $2 a piece. These are what I would recommend getting. A fat head, a skinny head, and then a bent head. So it's about $6 in pliers. The expensive ones are about 20 bucks per pair, which I haven't used them, but it's $20 for a pair of pliers. It's kind of hard to justify, in my opinion. Maybe one day if I'm rich, I'll try them out. You got your buff sticks. This is something I forgot to put on my list. These, you'll never run out of uses for these. So you just want, you could use a paint stick, anything that's squared, whatever shape you want. I prefer this rectangle shape. I just cut these out of scrap wood. You wrap your abrasive paper around it, and then you cut the corners. You just score them, so that way when the paper is used up, you can rip it off and it creates a nice clean edge. Do one of these for every grit you have. Works. They are so handy. I went a while without making them, and immediately after making them, I regretted not having done it sooner. I think that's pretty much it. For your files, you might hear people tell you to use a file brush. Don't use file brushes. You're going to contaminate your work area because this material is going to get filed away. You're putting it on a file. Don't use like steel file cards. Maybe if you're working with steel, go for it, but contamination is a big issue, and the duration of the life of your file. What I do, this file brush, it does not clean these files very well. It'll take out the big chunks sometimes. What I do is I just take a piece of silver and I just go like this, and that knocks everything out of the file. You don't contaminate your work area, and it's less hard on the file. And with the really thin ones, the really fine files, like these ones, a file brush is literally going to take nothing out of them. It won't remove any of the clogged up material just because the teeth are so finely together. You have to use a piece of silver or gold to clean out the file. I think that's pretty much it. I'll have just a list of all these tools with links. If you don't want to watch a video, maybe I'll link that. I don't know, you're already watching the video, so what's it to you? That's pretty much it for my beginner stuff. There are more expensive items, like a torch like this, about 500 bucks for the setup. But I pretty much covered everything you need for basics. More intermediate would be like casting your own silver with molds and crucibles and alloying your own metal, stuff like that. Ooh, one of these. Throw this in here quick before the video cuts out. I don't know what this is called, but it has varying thicknesses of metal. These are useful for all sorts of things. I picked this one up at a thrift shop. I don't know what they're called, but they have the thickness of the metal written on them. Really useful for different applications. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. You learned something, and God bless you. Have a great day.